Real-world assets continue to show promising traction beyond hype, bridging tokenized assets to more value creation. From fiat-backed stablecoins to even tokens backed by gold, or even valuable real estate and even services, these can be tokenized. But the concept of tokenizing assets is somewhat too broad, or it's a bit too fluffy in my opinion, right? With so many things going on. So that's why today we did bring on an expert to talk about everything that's happening in RWAs, and especially with what the Go project is doing for universal basic services. And this is something meaningful that we would like to dive into today. So first and foremost, it's a pleasure to have Anthony Diaz. He's the CEO and founder of the Go project. Anthony, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, your entrepreneurial background, and what gets you out of bed every morning, right, in terms of what you do?
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Thank you for having me on. Absolutely. So I would say my why of existing is to really bring a system to help reduce suffering and get people out of survival mode. You know, if you focus on solutions that can do that for the world, how do you do that? Why do you do that? Well, it definitely propels humanity forward and gets people into a better spot, civilizations, nations, countries into a better spot. And some of these solutions will never come from G20, United Nations, World Economic Forum. But peeling back and teleporting us back to where it all started for me, I'm a New Rican. My parents were born in Puerto Rico. I was born in Brooklyn. I wasn't raised with a lot of money, but was raised in a great home. I was raised in a great spiritual home. My dad was a dietitian and nutritionist, and I got to see the value of herbs and good cooking and what that can do for the human body, and the spiritual nurturing as well too, which came from both my mom and dad. And so I always grew up with that value, and I never saw a lot of that value from a lot of people I interacted with in life. And I was always helping people get into a better spot. My dad saw my passion for helping people at scale. Yeah, so he kind of didn't want me to do the nutritionist and dietitian thing directly, but he saw that there was a way to do things at scale with information technology. And so he honed that in me, he nurtured that in me, he promoted me to do that. I came out of school building and coding claim systems for the largest managed mental health care company in the world, which you would think mental health care companies focus on spirituality and nutrition, mineralization, and just really good eating habits and things like that. They really don't. And so after seeing the data, that kind of put some thoughts in my head on why, you need to look at mind, body, spirit holistically as well. My father had a predisposed heart condition, and he passed away earlier in my life. And so when I was getting into my career, and that put a fire in my belly, I would say. I always grew up spiritual, and I always realized that my real father's in heaven. And when you start realizing that we're here on this planet to do God's will, and to do that, we all have something that we're doing, and that out of fear and pride, we're sort of like inserting extra stuff that we need to do to get to God's will. Like, let me make a bunch of money in a business, and then I'll do God's will. Oh wait, once I do that and I get a farm and a house and 2 Tesla trucks, one red, one blue, then I'm gonna do the real important thing for humanity and for people's souls and spirits. And I don't believe in that. I believe you have to, if there's one thing that God tells us a lot, it's about fearing not, right? Do not fear, right? And so you got to put aside fear. You got to put down the ego, the pride, this 3D space we live in. So yeah, that's a little bit about my background. We've been in the blockchain and crypto space since 2016, 2017. I'm a repeat founder, and just fire my belly to really bring about a system for abundance. And obviously, when we talk about RWA, AI, a lot of these are important technology phenomenon, societal phenomenon to do so.
Thanks for the refreshing, I would say, genuine backstory, because sad as it is, a lot of people in Web3 are like, well, I just got into crypto because I just want to make money, right? That's it. So there really isn't much more than that, but I think you have a much deeper background coming to where you are today. That's great. So first, I want to pick into your brains a little bit about the RWAs industry as a whole. So I was doing some research, and I find this CoinDesk article, and the headline is Tokenized RWAs could grow to a $10 trillion market by 2030. Now that's only a little over 5 years from now, which is not too far, right? So I do want to ask you, RWAs is widely discussed, it is very hot, right? But it's still very nascent, kind of new and growing. So how do you view this whole RWA space as a whole? What's actually hot right now? What's overhyped?
Yeah.
And what do you think we can realistically expect in the next few years?
I think we can't expect a lot. I think the infrastructure is being laid. Whether we hit 10 trillion or not is probably not the more important question. The important question is, are the leaders of different AI systems, asset categories, finance managers, asset managers, are the blockchain leaders asking the right questions in terms of, I think, 2 dimensions. It's about energy and storage, right? When you look at energy and you look at value, energy, storage, and value are all interconnected. And the way we see it is that these phenomenons of a ledger and having systems of truth like blockchain that can really allow what are the rights, what are the attributes of an asset, whether it's supply chain, whether it's precious metals, whether it's land, intellectual property, anything could be tokenized. Your Hot Wheel collection that your mom probably still has in the attic for you probably could be tokenized now. Say I have, a set of Pokemon cards and baseball cards. It's exciting. And we all know in our hearts we've collected these things because we knew at some point there was going to be an easier, better way to transfer that value and store that energy. We worked for it, right? Or our parents worked for the cards, they bought them for us, and it always transferred and kind of made its way into the form of a card. And so I personally believe that RWA for at least the next couple of generations is an $800 trillion opportunity. Dare we say the word quadrillion, right? So let's start saying the word quadrillion, because you got to start looking at how much is the planet Earth worth, right? How much value is there? Probably one would say anywhere from 2 to 7 quadrillion. So when you look at 10 trillion, that's really nothing, and it's absolutely achievable. When we talk about RWAs, when we talk about systems and intelligent systems and compute power as a currency, when you listen to Michael Saylor and how he talks about like Bitcoin's the ultimate store of energy, and that gold is great and everything like that, but really hard to transfer, really awkward to jump on a plane with $1 million worth of gold, right? No one's going to do that. It raises questions. But when you can have something that stores that energy and currency, and now you have ways to unlock all of these asset categories, the Tesla Gigafactory finance manager is going to find a way to unlock those idle assets. The Apple will find ways to tokenize their intellectual property. The small business owner will figure out ways to tokenize all, the $30,000 worth of inventory in their back. The 84-year-old artist that hasn't bloomed yet is going to find a way to tokenize, 40 of their paintings and let other people, share in that value. It's an exciting time. I see us hitting that value very easily, that target easily.
Go big or go home, right? It's really a massive thing, and I don't think most people realize just how much value there is. But yeah, 800 trillion, that sounds good to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Earlier, you touched a little bit about your background, and then you also just mentioned some use cases, but I would like to touch on a bit more about how you and your team, right, your entrepreneurial experiences led you to founding the Go project. And what are some like the top use cases that Go is enabling, right? Besides maybe the ones that you just mentioned.
Yeah, I think us as a founding team, we always believed in this concept of, and this is the way I was raised going back to my background, let no one suffer. Like the concept of letting someone suffer is something that never has sat well with my parents, and that got instilled with me, good or bad. I just I'm that guy that will pull out the $20 bill if I walk down San Francisco and run into 4 homeless people. They're $80 is out of my pocket. I'm just, don't let them suffer. It's between them and God what they do with the money, but never let anyone suffer. And so my co-founder is the same way. We just don't let people suffer. We've come from humble beginnings, but we do feel we're blessed with the right level of skills, experience to do what we're doing, and that gets up out of bed. We have nothing better to do. Working on a drone startup or some sort of robot company doesn't really excite us. That's a thing that gets us to a thing humanity-wise. In terms of the Go project, right, our first RWA token, GoXP, is an RWA gaming token, where we believe that any gamer, anyone that's spending energy related to engagement, like playing games or doing 100,000 steps in a day or achieving things or Boy Scout badge, should be able to have a way to have a truth record of that engagement story. Gain tokens, yes, but gain benefits as well. So there is an element of health in here that when you come to RWA, you have to consider the well-being dimension of things and impact that people are making, the impact that companies are making. So that's our first RWA token. That'll launch on Ethereum. We'll move that liquidity and use case over to our chain, which is called Smartchain AI. I'm sure that's one of your other you may have a question on, but how many other RWAs could or should exist? We think that there's some really interesting companies that you know of, like Ondo. Peak Network is doing a really good job. They're unlocking a lot of different RWAs. What are asset categories that could have other tokens on our system? Well, we have developers and teams that are building on our system right now. They're wanting to unlock, turn music into assets or arts, right? An art token, a music token, a carbon credits token, a plastics token. There's in the impact field alone, there's over 80 different types of credits, and that's consolidating to about probably 12. A lot of that will consolidate around carbon credits, as you know. Water tokens, right? There's so many opportunities out there, and some of the teams are coming to us and saying, hey, we know we want to do something around this asset category, which is in hype cycles that the cliche startups keep coming. The cliche, we're an RWA chain, we're an RWA token. Well, what's more important is what level of value in an engaging, fun, social community building way are you adding value? And then what is the most realistic asset category they can add value to? That's the better question that we say. And so those teams we pick, those teams we write grants to, those teams we say, yeah, you are building a real tremendous game here. And we think that that has the power to unlock supply chain assets, or land assets for this reason, right? And so that's what the Go project's all about. It's like, what are the biggest asset categories and what are the most engaging community building ways? In the world of AI, compute power going down to zero, right? What's the one thing that's not a commodity is community building. And how do you build a community? Engagement. And what's engagement? Rewards, recognition. And people don't realize that it's recognition that's longer perceived and more remembered than rewards. No one remembers their raises throughout life. They remember the trophy. They remember the pat on the back. They remember the Cub Scout badge. They remember they earned something, but it's awkward for the human experience to kind of and say that and wave your hands in the air and say, hey, I didn't win that trophy for the chili contest, right? So those are the attributes that matter the most. And we think that a lot of other RWA projects are sort of missing the mark. The blessing that we have going for us is we have a distribution network already through an enterprise organization that is the top employee experience program out there. Now it's evolving to be an AI-based ERP platform. Why? Because what's ERP? Enterprise resource planning. The concept of the resource is changing. And a lot of people don't realize how fast that's changing. So when you have distribution on an enterprise, you have gamification, you're a team that understands the nuances of hearts, coins, stars, gems, level ups, and that these are really great tactics and mechanisms to reward and recognize people, leaderboards that are public, right? These are the attributes that make a great system. Founding team has a really good, value stream, and they can tie to an asset like land, like precious metals. I mean, sky's the limit then. So 30 tokens on our chain, that's our goal for the next 2 to 3 years. So
yeah, I like this way of thinking because you're right, like a lot of RWAs, okay, cool, they're tokenizing something, but I think we're all trapped in this, Web3 echo bubble where it's mostly speculative. And then if they do want to bridge to like the Web2, right, distribution side, there's a whole bunch of legality issues, especially like real estate and, more of those security type assets. But something like fashion, I think is, less legal, but then it's difficult for people to kind of have fun with per se. So I do like that gamification element. Can we actually dive deeper into this gamification element? Give us more examples, right? So I'm a user, right? How exactly can I interact, have fun, with the Go platform?
Yeah. So as a user, you probably have some initial familiarity with like play to earn experiences or move to earn experiences. So you're going to come to Go, you're going to come to chat.goplatform.io from our website. Our website's goplatform.io. And it's an online, AI chat-based RPG game. So we've taken an RPG game and we've abstracted all the visuals, just like, no one likes a movie being made of their favorite book. We don't believe if you put too much form factor behind a game, it actually detracts from what's possible mentally, visually, as well, what you visualize in your mind. So we made it an AI text-based RPG game, and you start doing things based on your real life. So if you're playing Mario Kart, or maybe you're playing a Web3 game like Pixels.xyz, or maybe you're doing things on like Gamin, or maybe you're doing things on Splinterlands, or any game, Xbox, whatever, take screenshots of that, drop that into the bot. It's going to give you can embark on quests. It'll give you badges. Inside of those badges, there's a high probability that there's an NFT or piece of loot, but you're also getting GoXP tokens on testnet right now, right? So you're getting tokens, you're having the probability, you're getting a badge that you get to keep and show and socialize, right? And then you're going to have soon the opportunity to inscribe in a native Bitcoin asset on the Bitcoin chain to put what you did. Right. So now your log is, now you and I don't have war stories of all the video games and achievements we did throughout our life, or the time you hit that grand slam in Little League, right? We get to inscribe that and have that log, and then have that dually log on Smartchain as well. But we believe integrating with Bitcoin is really important. Like, we think that is sort of the immortal chain. God forbid if the world blew up one day, we think probably somewhere in the universe would be a thumb drive with everything, all of our inscriptions floating around in space somewhere. That sounds kind of morbid, but best way to think that it's probably going to be there to stay, right? We think Smartchain is going to be here to stay as well, of course. And that's it. You're getting quests, you're doing quests. We're about to roll out mazes and labyrinths. So every single day there's ways for you to engage in, like, not just check in, but actually do things. And maybe you go into a room and find a labyrinth and you find maybe some meme coins or a moon bag of a bunch of little cool stuff and things like that. And so this obviously spurs collaboration opportunities. Companies are coming to us and saying, hey, I want to collaborate with you guys. I want to be in the maze of the day. So keep an eye for that. But badges, coins, hearts, stars, gems, all that good stuff. But it's a blend of real world life and your virtual achievements as well. So think of it as a game of games. And obviously, once we IDO next month, testnet users will be able to convert their tokens over to mainnet as well. What's equally as important is that you could earn your way into a guild. So you get 25% cash back on the healthy food purchases you do as well, too. So you're getting recognized for buying. No one buys food and then doesn't eat it. So obviously, if you're buying healthy food, that's good for us, because then that serves as a good foundation of that initial promise of universal basic services. So we are POCing with our own community the concept of universal basic services, concept that, you know, has been wanting to be pulled off for $7 trillion a year. Not a lot of money for United Nations when it becomes a superpower currency conversation, a fiat conversation. But we like to think that we're putting a POC together that any nation or anyone in the world can adopt for less than $450 billion a year. Obviously, that's global, but we want to show that for any selective group that you can improve the gross domestic product of that specific country and group by providing universal healthcare, universal basic services.
I was, looking into your white paper, lots of dense information, and I would like you to kind of summarize. How do the GoXP token and also the GSMC come into play? What does it mean for users? And I would say, what are the differences?
Yeah. When you look at a layer one, whether it's Bitcoin or Ethereum, like obviously the main ones, one of the most important attributes at the end of the day, it's really creating like a nation state. It really is creating a system. It's a full like internet system with its own economics and money supply with it. That's the best way I like to explain like blockchain. So everything in our white paper really, we hope, details out why a system for abundance needs to be created, why that needs to be decentralized, why it can't be an L2, why is trust important? And then that trickles into sort of the technology concepts, not to get all technical and geeky, but a layer one ZK EVM is how that trickles into. It's a solid base layer for a system, has its own money supply. Any type of layer one needs a way of energy storage and transfer, and that's the gas coin. That's GSMC. That'll be on mainnet August, September, and testnet will be live in 4 weeks. So testnet Explorer, testnet incentives, have a look out. Lots of marketing and branding and community involvement that's going out soon for developers to come in, start building, etc., get incentives. And our community, as they level up in the game, right? So a lot of layer ones releasing, they're kind of like general and generic. Here's another layer one. If you and I had $1 for every single layer one, we'd probably have what? About hundreds of dollars at this point. A layer one's being literally probably just got created within the last 15 minutes, went on mainnet. We think there's too many general layer ones. How many developers are really out there and how many layer ones really need to be created? Well, we think one that's specific. So our chain is just for real world assets. We think that assets are coming online so fast. Why would an exchange or any chain want to allow anything that isn't backed by some sort of value, where the token is as a value? So saying what we're not is really important. So nothing super technology driven about that. We're just saying, look, we're focused. This is just not what we're going to do. We're only going to focus on RWA tokens. And so GoXP is that game token. It's an RWA game token. We believe that you should demonstrate, if you are a layer one, you should demonstrate with an engaging experience. What does the ecosystem represent in microcosm? So GoXP kind of represents that. Doing fun stuff, right? We're obviously our Go protocol part, as you see in the white paper, the Go protocol is the RWA protocol that is probably like a modern analogy to like when Stripe came out and enabled e-commerce and enabled finance functions for developers. And now you've got like 1% of those e-commerce transactions happening on Stripe, which is pretty insane when you think about it. That same paradigm of allowing with one line of code to do that, we're allowing with one line of code to allow any game developer, dApp developer to embed RWA into their application. And we think that that's going to be the more important attribute. And to do so at an AI agent GPT level, because GPTs are being able to be created by anyone now very easily, and they're better applications, more user-friendly than most applications that you used to pay for, $22 per user per year, or per month. And so a lot of these enterprise applications are getting pushed out. So that's the thesis behind the technology. That's the difference between the two. So utility token, right? Have a token that means something to the community that they can use and they're getting benefits from it. It's an RWA token. And then that's demonstrating what the next 29 tokens should be like on Smartchain. And obviously you need a gas coin for that. That's GSMC.
No, it's inspiring. You kind of reminded me about how like the whole why, right? Universal services. When I got into Bitcoin, right, at first I thought it was just technology, blockchain, cool. And then you start seeing prices go up. But then I soon realized it's fixing a lot of these economic problems in the world. We know about inflation. Look at developing countries like Argentina, Venezuela, hyperinflation, right? You see pictures of people throwing their cash in the streets because it's so useless. What are they doing? They're buying Bitcoin because it's a better store of value. I was like, okay, that's a good use case. But now I'm starting to think, okay, what if besides Bitcoin, they can have other means of, converting their assets? Maybe even GoXP, right? To have their life savings and support their family. So a few years ago, I think this was, not within reach. It was more of a dream. But I think talking to you and then really seeing the RWA space, it is becoming a lot more realistic in terms of anyone can do this, right? Developing countries. So I'm very excited. That's what gets me excited, in that people can have more freedom and power to do so through technology.
Yes. And obviously a lot of what we do will start to interact with enterprises on the back end in a chain abstract way. You're starting to see that adoption from the major cloud providers, GPU providers. And a major dimension, obviously, we didn't talk about too much, and you may have this question, is decentralized AI is really important. So our system is an AI system. Decentralized AI that's not controlled by any central entity obviously just makes common sense. No one's going to disagree with that. For the people, by the people, right? And then obviously what's the compute power needed for a massive system like that? Well, there's enough excess, just to think about it, like the Airbnb, WeWork, or Uber model for computing, right? Excess GPU capacity. Yes, we need more chips, but we kind of don't need more chips. They're all out there, right? And so if you contribute and you're an individual contributor to our system, you'll get rewarded and recognized for that in the form of benefits and potentially unlocking massive sets of benefits for your city and for your country. That's the vision that we see happening, just because there's a lot of energy there. There's a lot of energy, and there's ways to store that, right? And that's the other aspect of really compute as a currency, right? And we're starting to realize that significantly over the past 12 months, so.
The takeaway for me from this conversation is more about how can we capture and extract value that's already there? With things that we like to do, like gaming, like you said, right? That's the whole concept, play and earn in the primitive stage. But what if we can have 100 different versions of play and earn, for enterprise, for mom and dads, for younger people, 8-year-olds. So I think that in itself, I think is making more sense in terms of how it's going to become a multi-trillion-dollar industry.
Absolutely.
So Anthony, thank you so much for these insights. I know these spaces evolving extremely fast, right? And we only scratched the surface. So I do recommend whoever's watching this to go into the Go's community, Twitter, Discord, Telegram, website. There's even a game to play with. So just dabble your feet, right? And play for yourself and see what it offers for you. So thank you so much, Anthony. We hope to have you back on our channel one day.
Thank you. Thank you so much. This was great. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Have a good one. Bye.
Thank you.